Hello, me hearties. Welcome to this video on the 2020s political compass test by Britmonkey, and I am Crosmatron or Crosmatron, your favorite Martian VTuber. And this test is kind of new, so I'm just gonna go through it, and we're gonna see what sort of questions there are. You can already see one of the questions on the screen. Yeah, in this era of post-materialism, where the traditional left and right divide has given way to more vibes-based politics, this test hopes to refresh the outdated policy-oriented political compass test to be more up-to-date with the real issues of the 2020s. The test has 64 questions and scores on your four axes: Chud versus woke, identity politics and cultural issues, tech bro versus neo-Luddite, AI, crypto, biohacking, and futurism, hope pilled versus doomer, the system, conspiracies, and public revolt, and lastly, Davos versus Dubai, globalism and nationalism. So the questions on this test are purposefully hard questions, I guess, and I'll give some thoughts on all of them, I guess, as I go. So I can get cancelled before I even, before anybody even knows who I am. So this is the Chad versus woke section. Trans women are women and trans men are men. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say strongly, but look, I'm very skeptical of all the trans stuff generally. I think the problem is for me is I think a lot of people went through kind of a trans phase when they were very young, and that's why I'm very skeptical about it. Because I think if I was told when I was a kid that you could be trans and that it was a real thing and so on, then I would have just gone through with it, and now I'd be the opposite gender to what I am. And yeah, so I just think that I'm very I find it hard to grapple with, I guess. Maybe it's my age. Might just be my age as well. So, yeah, anyway. How many genders are there? Two. I'm not going to say... transgenderism as mental illness is probably pushing it a bit, I think. So I'm not going to choose that one. The thing is, these bits are silly because they depend on what your definition of the words are, and I'm not happy that we agree. I'm not happy that you and I agree that these words mean these things. Because I don't really believe in genders anyway. Which means automatically I'm not really gonna say there's more than two genders, just because I don't believe. For me, gender just means sex. So are there more than two sexes? No, not really. One makes eggs, one makes sperm. That's it too. Right. Israel is committing genocide against the Palestinian people. This one is I think I'm going to say disagree, just because I don't agree that the word genocide means what's happening, really. Anyway, I think alternative goals are pretty. I think. I support affirmative action programs to fix systematic injustices in society. I'm going to say disagree. I'm probably not going to say strongly disagree, but I don't think. I think affirmative action programs have gone way too far in society generally in most Western countries at this point, and I haven't seen much evidence that they've done much. Hate speech is free speech. What? Hate speech is free speech. Does this mean you should be allowed to say things that are racist? I guess I'll put agree. I mean, I don't think somebody should go to jail for it. Anyway, my country requires mass deportation of most, if not all, immigrants. Oh, god damn it. Hmm. I don't even know if it's most. I would tighten. I think it needs tightening up. I would say, I think taking more people in is not helpful. I think there's already been quite a big destabilization of Western countries because they've taken in lots of different groups very quickly, and there is some lack of cohesion there going on, and Yeah, I'm not saying that you should deport people, but I'm saying that like maybe stop importing so many. Like why? Like I know they think they're doing it for economic reasons, but I am skeptical about that. Um, in today's society, women have it easier than men. I don't know. I mean, everybody has different things that they can complain about. I think women. It's still the case in modern Western societies. It's still the case that women are more likely to be sexually assaulted and things like that. Um, so in that sense, they don't. I'm gonna put neutral. I'm gonna get a very boring answer like result here. Okay. My country requires mass deportation. Oh god, I read that one already. The primary cause of crime is poverty and deprivation. I mean, probably. That's probably not a very cool answer to give though. But I'll whatever. Who cares? There are too many crackheads on public transport. I've never seen any around here. I've seen literally zero. No, I've seen a couple. Not very many though. I might have seen like one. I don't know if it's too many. How many is too many? It's just not very common around here. Um, Homeschooling should be banned. Disagree. Forced diversity in media has gone too far. Agree. Strongly agree. I don't think we should have forced diversity in media. It's very clear that we do have forced diversity in media. I think there's an argument about whether or not we do have it, and I think we do, and I don't think it's really that necessary. I think it's gotten a bit silly. Um, okay, so yeah, so I put strongly agree for that one. So my country should pay reparations to the descendants of people who've wronged in the past. Strongly disagree because I did not do. My belief is that I think pretty much every civilization is trying to be above all of the other civilizations, right? So I think that if my civilization has successfully taken over your territory, then I don't know why we would be like paying reparations, especially because on an individual person basis, an individual person has, in my opinion, no responsibility for that. So yeah, so I think that's silly. So I'm going to put strongly disagree. J.K. Rowling is an icon of British culture and defends women. Yeah. So I don't think she's really. I mean, she said some things that might be slightly annoying to people, but I think uh, I'm kind of on the edge about that one. I think her heart's in the right place. That's what I meant when I put defender of women's rights. Oversimplified minimalist brand logos have gone too far. What? Yeah, I like the '80s ones. Like I really like the '80s style ones, which were usually a bit overcomplicated, but they were really cool. So yeah. Sex pornography, prostitution, the Israel work. I mean, this is a hard one because this includes obviously it says pornography, right? So if you draw porno art, which lots of people do, does that count as this? And you make money off it, does that count? I don't even know. I'm assuming it counts if you sell it, which means like if you're like if if you're like a hentai artist, does that count as being a sex worker in this context? They probably make a living off of it. Fine. Okay. Um, I think what I've decided here is I'm gonna choose agree because I think linguistically it makes like real linguistically lots of people do it as their job. So linguistically it's a job. Anyway, uh I have used ChatGPT or similar chatbot daily. I use all the different I use Grok and I use Gemini for work and I use ChatGPT sometimes, although I don't really like ChatGPT anymore. Um what? I don't know because I don't trust medicine. I think generally speaking, you should try and avoid medication and medicines and things because historically we haven't had that great a track record. Like, if it turns out that both of these are massively carcinogenic or something like that, then you shouldn't even be surprised because that's just sort of normal part of the course with human advancements. So, I would say I don't even know if it's useful. Is it cheating? No, I'm just putting I don't know. It's not a mirror. Like, no. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are, um, I mean, they're a way of taking money from suckers, basically. So, in a sense, you can say it's a form of gambling. I guess all trading is, right? Yeah. NFTs, non-fungible tokens, are a gimmick. Generative AI is overrated. I think we've gotten to the point where maybe you can, with very advanced models, generate things that I've seen people do a very good job with AI for helping to write code and like generate code for projects or for writing or for art or whatever. But it's um it's still the case that most well, all generative AI art does is plugs a bunch of different things together that it is in its learning pool, and then like joins them together in some fashion, and then you get to like you get the fruits of that joining. So it's very I think people misunderstand how it works, and you could if you are you could make the argument that humans do the same thing in the sense that they combine things, but I think humans are actually they make something better in the end than I think it's very. I think it takes a lot of extra creative work if you're doing if you're using generative AI in order to make something truly great at this point. And but yeah, I think generally it's overrated. Is the thing. Like it's mainly fun as a tool at the moment. Maybe it'll get better, but who knows? I was both vaccinated shots. I never got a booster though. I don't think I got sick. My wife actually got sick from. I'm not sure if I should have mentioned her, but whatever. She got sick. Um, she got sick from the COVID vaccination. She got myocarditis. But anyway, um, humanity needs to reduce our overall energy consumption to protect the ecosystem. Um, no, probably not. We just need safer forms of energy, which are in development. Lab grown meat is probably not as good as real meat. No, probably not. Um, I would take a drug that slows or stops the aging process. No, no, definitely not. Well, I guess with my Huntington's disease and stuff, I guess you could make because you could argue that Huntington's is just like the brain, the age of the brain advancing more quickly. In which case, maybe I would want medication that slows that down. I think generally no, though. AI bots will be doing most, if not all, human jobs within 10 years. I'm putting disagree because they always say that. Like, we were saying this in the 80s about the 2000s. No, sorry, we were saying this in the 70s about the 2000s, and then still in the 80s about the 2000s that we'd have AI and robots that would be good enough by like the year 2000 and so on, and it didn't happen, and I was very disappointed. I don't really think it will. We should not be spending billions on space travel when there are people starving on Earth. Strongly disagree. You can do both. You can do both. You need to do both. If this planet is doomed by global warming and so on, then we need, we need the rocket ship. I consume. Oh, I consume online pornography. I don't even know what counts as pornography. I'm just going to be honest and say that if if hypothetically a friend of mine used an AI chatbot and it didn't even generate images or anything, and they didn't even pay to use it, they just used a free one. Like hypothetically, would that count as consuming online pornography? I don't actually know. I think the answer to this is like there's a problem here, which is definitional problem. It's the same problem that we had with a lot of the other questions above, which is if you like, does that even count? I don't even know. I don't even know whether it counts. I think some people would assume it doesn't. It's the same thing with romance novels. I know basically every lady who reads romance novels, and it's mostly ladies, obviously. So like they all think it doesn't count as pornography, but it kind of does. So the question is, like, I mean, I guess you could get it in a book form, right? What if I, what if I looked at magazines? Given that I'm a bit of a luddite in some ways, that might even so saying I did that doesn't count then. So is that the point of the question? So I'm going to make an assumption here that they're probably going to say it doesn't count, right? I'm going to quickly look this up. This is bound to happen at some point. I am literally looking this up right now. I am going to ask ChatGPT. I'm going to literally go to ChatGPT now, and I'm going to ask whether it counts. And so yeah, just bear with me a second. I know this is a video, and I'm literally not going to cut this bit out. Boop 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 boop. Hi, my name is Crosmatron. I'm gonna sing this song to you while you wait for me to type the thing. Does does using Chat GPT, wait, I don't use that. Does using Grok or another chatbot for masturbatory hijinks count as using online pornography? I sorry them. I sorry them is using is not even generating any pictures even actually. So what do you think, Mr. AI bot? Okay, let's see what ChatGPT says. I'm just going to assume that ChatGPT is going to give me a valid answer. Um, okay. All right, so this is what ChatGPT says. It depends on what definition of online pornography you're using. If you mean the broad sense of using the internet as a source of sexual arousal, then many people would say yes. Even if no images are involved, you're still interacting with an online service for sexual purposes. From that perspective, an AI chatbot being used as a sexual aid is functionally similar to other forms of online sexual content. If you mean pornography in the what? It says it says yes and no. This isn't give this is not a straight answer. Okay, genuine. Okay, I'm just going to respond to ChatGPT. Um, this answer is too vague. Is too vague, and I don't understand. I don't know why you can't give a yes or no answer. Okay, there we go. I'm waiting for ChatGPT to tell me the actual answer now. It's taking a while. It's really thinking about it. Okay, come on. I am Crosmatron. We are listening to my song that I'm singing with my mouth while I wait for ChatGPT because it's taking a very long time. It's asking somebody else, like maybe a human, to give an answer. I don't know. I don't know what it's doing. It's just taking forever. Oh, okay. This is massively irritating. Okay. Okay. I'm literally gonna ask Gemini next. I'm just gonna ask Google Gemini. The reason I'm asking Google Gemini is because ChatGPT did not give me an answer. It just stopped halfway through. So Um. Okay. It depends. It says using online pornography depends entirely on how you're defining it. Whether you're looking at it from a technical standpoint or a behavioral one, there is absolutely no need to apologize for asking. It's really a common question as AI tools become more conversational. Matt, just give me the answer. Here's how the distinction breaks down. The technical definition. Okay, right. Historically, pornography implies explicit visual media. Okay. So it says if you're asking the question because you're tracking your habits, doing a personal challenge, um, or looking at it from a psychological perspective, the brain doesn't draw a massive distinction. From a behavioral standpoint, using the interactive chatbot for arousal functions almost identically to online pornography. Okay, the takeaway if your definition of online pornography requires pictures or video, then no. Okay, so basically it won't answer. Then I don't. No, I can't. Ugh, I don't know. I don't know what counts. I don't know what counts. Do I use sites like Pornhub or sites like Pornhub or OnlyFans or things like that? No, I don't. Anyway, I support building more nuclear energy plants. Yes, yes, build more. AI automation should not come at the expense of jobs and livelihoods. Um, um, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't want to give too much information away here, but like I was going to say a lot of companies have been spending a lot of money on AI tooling and stuff, and like it's questionable. It's extremely questionable whether they've even gained anything out of it. They've just sort of blown lots of money. Um, I think in the long term, it may be the case that AI will just replace a lot more jobs, but I think so far, I think people have been putting the cart before the horse a bit, if you know what I mean. Everybody understands that phrase, right? AI automation should not come at expense. It will though. It's like what should even mean? I hate the word should. Should is my least favorite word because it's so unclear. Um, I'm gonna say agree a bit, but like it will though. So it almost doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Anyway, prediction markets are um a tool for collecting just gambling. Um, air conditioning is um it's good. There's a big thing about air conditioning at the moment because in large parts of Europe they had a heat wave and air conditioning is not widely available. The reason it's not widely available is purely because it's not hot enough at the time. Like right, it's hot once every couple of years for like a few days, and then that's it. And then the rest of the time it's cold. So that's why they don't have air conditioning everywhere. Uh, no, but I love air conditioning. I don't. It's really not essential, though. It really isn't. It is a luxury. That makes me think I should have chosen this one. Unnecessary, wasteful, not human American extravagance. No, I'm just gonna choose important to maintain comfortable temperatures. If you're working in an office in the middle of like a really hot country and you don't have air conditioning, it's very hard to get anything done because it's just too hot, and that happens a lot. And it's really, I think it is a massive productivity boost. Anyway, there's no point in planning for the future because climate change will ruin the planet in the next few decades anyway. Um, no, strong disagree. All these sorts of predictions like climate change and stuff, like in the 80s, they said that the Earth would be basically uninhabitable by now. That's what I was told when I was growing up. So on Mars, when I was growing up on Mars, which is anyway, whatever. The only way you can be truly safe and secure in the modern day is by being rich. Uh, you know, Yeah, to a degree. It is the big capitalism flaw, isn't it? Is that everybody can't be rich, but you know, whatever. Uh, I trust that mainstream news outlets are telling the truth. No, I know they're not, because whenever there's a topic I know anything about, then the first thing I notice when I look at what the mainstream media is saying is that it's just not correct. Uh, they misrepresent everything. I think it's often done, like sometimes it's malicious and sometimes it's just done because they're idiots. I think most of the time it's done because they're idiots. Because for it's hard for these it's hard for journalists to understand how the world really works and to understand geopolitics and realpolitik and all this sort of thing. Like they don't understand it, and they don't understand it, and they always have to narrativize. Sorry, they always have to narrative. They always have to narrativize it, turn it into a story, good versus evil, and all that sort of thing. So that's the natural human thing you do, which is like us versus them, good versus evil, whatever. So yeah, they're not very good at telling the truth. Mostly political affiliations in news media is so common as well that obviously they have a tendency towards making their political party look better. Anyway, the best days of my country behind it probably. Um, is That's a bit doomer, but whatever. Right. We're not being told the truth about history. Um, yeah, I think the problem here is the problem here. I just saw the Trump one. I like Donald Trump. Anyway, that's a funny question to have here. We're not being told the truth about history. I think this is genuinely true because I think especially younger kids have a very like I would say that there's too much politics in how history is taught. With whatever side of the political aisle you're on, I think there's too much politics making people not be objective enough, and there's too much missing information in history, and there's like a lot of assumptions get made, and a lot of it gets narrativized, and a lot of it's based on how things were presented on the news at the time, which was presented incorrectly. Like if you're talking about more modern history, and then it all sort of compounds into a point where you can't really know anything, and then you go crazy, and then you turn into a VTuber. But then actually, maybe the correct thing to do is to just go oh, they're probably telling the truth most of the time. Anyway, again, this might not even be that malicious, but truth means it's malicious. But I think there's just some maliciousness to it. Voting achieves nothing. Um, the thing, the thing is, like, that's only true if nobody votes. Like, your vote counts as much as people vote, right? So, like, your vote counts because if people if you assume that people like you don't vote because they don't believe in voting, because they don't believe it achieves anything, then it means that your political opinions will be ignored because they're not voting. And this is what happens with old people. Because every old person votes because they understand this, then they get everything they want. And because poor people and young people don't vote, they don't get anything they want, right? Although I understand that, like, I mean, more left wing political parties tend to do well, particularly if they've like really sewn up the poor person vote, I suppose. But yes, but the point is, you have to vote so other people like you vote, because like if there's if there's 100,000 people who are just like you and they have similar views of how things work and they feel like they're not being represented politically, then if you give up on voting, the other ones like you must have done it as well, and that's a bit of a sobering thought. So the best thing to do is just vote and just assume it might work. I'm trying to think if I've successfully voted for. So I haven't. I haven't. I don't think. I'm trying to think if there's an instance where I voted for a political party that won in a general election, or or anything like that. I think maybe I haven't. Okay, so I like Donald Trump. Okay. Uh, so now I have to explain why I like Donald Trump or why I don't like Donald Trump. I think that Donald Trump is it comes like with something like the tariffs, the whole tariffs thing he was trying to do. Like he was correct that um he was correct that the tariffs were needed to ensure that bad trade deficits and things and bad trade deals that happened before could that were affecting the American economy in a big way were something that he could try and fix by like threatening other countries. And there's also a really good example, which is that he threatened European leaders with tariffs unless they reduced unless they increased the cost of medication, which meant that if European countries increased the cost of their medications, so pharmaceutical companies got more money, then the pharmaceutical companies could get away with paying, charging American consumers less. So actually, I don't know if any of that's true, but that's what he was trying to do. And I think that that sort of strategy is pretty cool. And I think that there's pretty much no other politician in my lifetime who's behaved in the way he behaves. But he's very bullying, but he does it with his country's best interests at heart, I guess, right? But so yeah, so yeah. I mean, I don't hate him. Uh, I also like Donald Trump because of his anti-war positions, generally speaking. Like he's always been a very anti-war guy, even when he was running for president both times, and in articles he wrote. Well, he probably had them ghost written, but he was always, and I think even in television appearances, he was very anti-war. And I'm a massive pacifist. But then he started the whole Iran thing. But you know, whatever. I think his heart's in the right place. Looting is a legitimate form of political expression. Huh? What? I don't even know what this means. I'm going to put neutral because I don't know what it means. An elite group of people have a secret plan to introduce a totalitarian government. Well, that's always the case. That's always been the case. It's where, like, it just depends. Like, yeah, I think that's always been the case. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, it is funny when people with shitty political views die. No, I know who they're talking about, but yeah, it's not. Uh, anyway, incremental process is incremental progress is a better way to achieve goals than demanding immediate radical change. Disagree. All of the major political, like if you think about the French Revolution, where they went from being an autocratic monarchist system to a quite modern republic quite quickly, um, and the American Revolution and the abolition of slavery, basically any of these big changes, um, they're all very sudden that they happen. There's no real incrementalism going on. They're just bang. So yeah, that's why. I actually think I've come around to thinking that the fight for incremental progress just doesn't achieve anything. That actually, it's the immediate change that really is what you want. Um, no, that two of the things I referenced were both revolutions. I'm not generally in favor of revolutions, but I think historically changes are always pretty sudden and not gradual. Shoplifting, online piracy, and fair hopping is these aren't the same thing. These are all not the same thing because fair hopping is like a minor thing because it's not a real physical good. Well, it depends what it means. Does it mean like a bus fare? I guess it means like a bus fare hop, like not paying your bus fare. Whatever. Shoplifting is stealing a physical good. Online piracy is not anything. That's copying data, so that's not any type of like you can argue it being immoral, but it's completely different thing from shoplifting. Like it's not categorized the same. You can't categorize these things the same way. Ah, So I'm putting usually wrong there. I also I think by and large, if you're very poor and you steal food from a shop, I think that's fine. It's a bad thing that multi-billionaires exist. Disagree. The good thing about multi-billionaires is that they can work on big projects, and I would hope that more people with that sort of money can use it to work on big projects that governments aren't likely to work on, like space-related projects and stuff like that. Because since no governments are really that interested in space, um, that would be really cool. Anyway, the digital nomad lifestyle is appealing to me. I don't know what this means. This is the first, oh, this is probably the only term, but I don't know what it means. So I'm going to look up what digital nomad means, and then we'll see. Literally just going to search. I think it's okay. A professional who works remotely. Oh, okay. Why is that a nomad? Somebody who works remotely is a nomad? I mean, yeah. Yes and no. I think you need to mix it up. I think if you're somebody who works at home, it is actually good to go into the office and things regularly anyway. Working at home constantly is a drag. Like it gets boring, and you'll get cabin fever, and you'll get bed sores and things, and you'll end up sleeping all day every day rather than doing any work, and so on. So, if anything, going into the office occasionally is a good way to get like a motivation boost, which will help your productivity. Uh, like GDP is a bad metric for measuring a country's prosperity. Well, of course it is. Well, I mean, but like, okay, prosperity. I don't know how you measure that. Like genuinely. Um, okay. I think in general, yes, it is bad. It is bad because you should be using the gross domestic product per capita as a way to measure prosperity, not gross domestic product. It's actually incorrect. So I'm putting strongly as a bad metric. It is the incorrect metric. You should always do everything per capita. Whether you're measuring crime statistics, it should be per capita. When you're doing gross domestic product, it should be per capita and not just all of it added together. It's obviously a bad metric if you're just going to add all of the money together. Jesus. Okay. I would fight and die for my tribe. I mean, I don't know. Would I? Probably. I mean, I'm putting agree, sure. I'm a massive pacifist, but I mean, I ultimately, I guess, if I had to. Anyway, the system of government pursued by China is one that we should emulate. Uh, no, well, this is a complicated one because I don't know if I don't even know what type of government they are trying to pursue. I think they were trying to pursue a communist government, but they don't really have. I don't know that they're really trying to. I would say no. I'm going to say strongly disagree. Western countries want to keep global South countries poor. No. I live in the global South in a rich country. Well, a country that has a very high gross domestic product per capita. That's what I have. Okay, so next we're doing import tariffs are necessary to protect jobs and wealth. Um, yeah, they are. I it's very I've always believed that tariffs, when used correctly, are. I think they can work extremely well. I think it's easily something that can be overdone or overcooked. But there's lots of countries that have tariffs. It's very like everybody acts like America just invented tariffs, but there's lots of countries with tariffs. It's stupid. Anyway, and even if they don't have tariffs, some countries just literally block, like fully block, uh, other countries from doing certain types of trade unless they've like followed guidelines which aren't followable and things like that. So like ones that basically bar them anyway, just as a form of protection for the local government. Um, So, you know, yeah, so like basically everybody does it in one way or another. Um, if I could, I would overturn an election result I didn't like. Strongly disagree. Um, Once people of my political view obtain power, we should make it harder for the public to vote us out. Strongly disagree. Um, I like democracy generally. I think that even no matter how doomy you get, you should always believe in democracy, even if you don't believe in anything else. uh, yeah. I would surrender my right to vote in exchange for a guaranteed higher standard of living. Strongly disagree. Um, if my country is going to accept immigrants, they should primarily be doing work that native citizens don't want to do. Agree. I don't think there's anything morally wrong with that. It's very easy to find immigrants that want to do work that for less that native citizens don't really want to do, particularly farming. It's very hard to, in certain parts of the world, it's very hard to find farmers, like enough farmers in the first place, like even if you're offering decent wages. So if you accept immigrants to do that work, that's fine. It just has to be legal. It all has to be legal and like managed and regulated. I support the death penalty. Kind of. I'm gonna say disagree because I've been a flip flopper on this my entire life. So, uh, I don't have a good argument why I don't support it, except that I think that too many people have been executed who didn't do anything wrong. The justice system makes mistakes, etc. Online content that conflicts with my values should be blocked. Strongly disagree. Freedom. Broadcast media should not question the government's decisions. Uh, yeah, strongly disagree. That means broadcast media should question the government's decisions. I agree. I tried to flip this because it was written as a not question again. That's what they always do in these things. Certain ethnic, religious, or social groups should be given preferential treatment in society and law. No. I mean, maybe. It depends. I can see, like, if I was going to take a country like Bhutan, say, which is a predominantly Buddhist country, and it's mostly, like, I would say that if they wanted some form of protection for their own people, I would be okay with that. I think it's okay in some circumstances. Um, but mostly I'm disagreeing. Anyway, women in my country should be incentivized to have more children. Definitely agree, because they're definitely not. That's men's fault too. I'm not only blaming women; it's men's fault as well. You know, you need to incentivize both correctly. Um, Having human rights means nothing if you are poor and starving. Well, yeah, I agree. Because you're just gonna die. I'm assuming that this is if there's a massive famine in part of Africa or something, and like maybe they've just instituted human rights, and then there's no food and stuff, and yeah. Some people must die in order for my political ideals to be implemented. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't. Well, okay. This is written in. This is written in such a way that it's implying to me this means future in the future, because I'm not trying to achieve a political ideal, really, because I'm quite conservative in nature generally. So I'm going to put strongly disagree for this. Some people must die in order for my political ideals to be implemented. No. It's none of our business what another country does within its borders. I'm going to put agree. I have a tendency to agree with that one. I think I almost do have some like some in-group preference here, because I feel like if they're doing things to our people, whoever they are, like say if somebody from my country went to country which is very unstable and then that harmed them in some way, that I think it's okay to get mad with them over it. But how they treat their own people, I think, is fine. They that's just history. Like, it's up to them to sort themselves out. Like in every country I know of that is quite stable now, didn't used to be stable. They basically just they fought really hard to make themselves stable in most countries at least. Um, we should not partake in international agreements that force us to reduce our CO2 emissions until we are ready. I think the thing is with this one is that it depends because, like, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if the CO2 emissions are bad enough to care or not. I don't know. I'm not an expert. Um, I kind of like at this point I've kind of assumed that I just am never going to know enough about climate, about global warming, climate change, to know whether it's real or not. I am skeptical about it a lot. I think it's not any good unless we get everybody on board because actually, like India and China, for example, have much like they produce a lot more CO2 emissions than where I live, but my country's still expected to do this shit. Um, Even though those other countries aren't. So, um, I'm gonna say agree, even though that's a bit of a yeah answer. Okay. Okay, here's my answer. It's 36% woke, 64% chud, 47% tech bro, 53% neo-Luddite, 41% hope, doomer, Davos, Dubai. I don't remember what Davos means even in this context. Oh, globalism. Oh, it says I like globalism. Prime Minister of Italy. Is she still the Prime Minister of Italy? Do they have a link anywhere that goes anywhere? Are we not? Okay. So, we are going to go here and then have a look to see what it says. It says, Giorgia Meloni is an Italian politician who has served as Prime Minister of Italy since October 2022. She is the first woman to hold the office and the head of the second longest government in the history of the Italian Republic. A member of the Chamber of Deputies. Yeah. Youth Front, Youth Italian. Wait, what? Uh, okay. Okay. I thought I was. Wait. Is Davos the one that is nationalism and Dubai the one that is globalism? I don't actually know anymore. Okay, whatever. But yeah, she's quite right wing. She's much more right wing than I am, I think. But whatever. She looks kind of cute though, right? Cute, cute, cute. Okay. But yeah, so that I'm yeah. Now I'm gonna have to do more research about this lady and try and work out who the f she is. Anyway, god damn, this test took ages to do. Anyway, thanks guys and gals and other Martians and Earthlings and stuff. But yeah, I recommend this test. It's just on Britmonkey.com, and it's I'm surprised it came up with this answer, the Giorgia Meloni one. So you can see my results there. So it says I am a Chud, Neo-Luddite, Doomer, Davos. Yeah, okay. Anyway, that's it. Ciao.